Welcome to When Creativity Knocks All-Star Designer Summer Series. And Cindy is going to show us a great project. Hey Cindy, what do we have up your sleeve?
We're making a tropical themed, it can be a vase or a candle holder.
Cindy, you want to show us your first step?
Yes, we're starting with these glass cylinder vases that I just got in the dollar store, which is a great source for background product. And I want to do some etching on it. So to mask out where I wanted to spell out aloha, I actually cut some of Etchel's etch mask with a Tim Holtz Alterations alphabet and the Big Shot machine. And we do have a tutorial on our website on how to use the Big Shot, but I did want to note, if you're going to use this as with lettering, you want to put it on backwards. Because otherwise your letters are reversed. I learned that the hard way. So
that's a great tip. Thank you, Cindy.
And you also do not have to cut the whole alphabet at once. If you only need a certain letter, you can put it on and just cut what you need.
Sometimes what I'll do when I do that is I'll use blue tape, you know, the packing tape, or not packing, but blue tape, and it'll hold it so it doesn't shift.
So it's a good idea.
Another good tip.
Yeah. But I'll keep all these extra letters in a Ziploc bag for another project.
Oh, that's so smart.
So I just placed those, I lined them up on my glass vase about an inch from the top. Again, it's very haphazard, however you like it.
Oh, I like the letters too.
Yeah, it's a kind of a fun font. And I wanted to use another technique that I learned from Carmen Flores Tanis, who was in our series, the spring series, and I love this technique. If you stamp, and this is Judykin's Hibiscus, I love this bold stamp. If you stamp on glass with a solvent-based ink pad, I'm going to ink it up really well. Now, even though it's a curved surface, if I start, I hope you can see, and then I'm kind of rolling it towards me, you get the image stamped onto your glass. And I stamped those randomly over the entire surface of my vase, and I let it dry. You can use a heat tool to heat set it because you want to make sure it's fully dry.
How long do you think, if you were just air drying it, would it take?
I honestly don't know. I did hit mine with a heat tool, but just to speed things up. And then I used etched cream, and I put it over the entire surface, and the StazOn acts as a resist. I do want to mention, do not follow the instructions for this one because you only want to wait about 10-11 minutes because it will begin to dissolve the StazOn.
Oh, so not the full 15.
So you're not following the directions on the bottle. You're going to wait 10 or 11 minutes, and then you're going to put it back and rinse it clean. And we do have a tutorial on our site on how to use etched cream also. And what you're left with, and I hope this shows.
Oh, it looks so great.
You've got your beautiful lettering, and then you have these fabulously detailed flowers that the ink acted as a resist.
And it's amazing. I hope you can see it at home, but it literally...
The details are just phenomenal.
Really, really great.
And I wanted to enhance them just a little bit and make them add a little bit of color because we're in the tropical vibe and we want bright colors. And so these great Deco Art crystal gloss enamels give you a hint of color without being totally opaque. And I didn't want to, again, I didn't want to lose that detail of that etching. Originally I was going to paint the whole thing, but the etching was too beautiful to go over.
Yeah,
so
really
I just pulled the color, and I'm using a flat brush. I just pulled the color a little bit.
From the edge of the flower
from the outside edge, and I tried to keep the bigger concentration of that paint on the outside edge and feather it in. And I just went around all of the flowers, and then I added the yellow crystal gloss for the stamen with one of the finer paint brushes, and let it dry. And then I followed the directions on the crystal gloss bottles on how you heat set that in the oven.
And that does not affect the etchel?
No, it's still there, and it's beautiful, and it gives you that hint of color. to your etched piece. So now you can use it like it is as a vase, or we can use it as a candle holder, and I wanted to kind of amp up my tropical.
Of course
so we
did.
made a little base for it, and I'm going to show you how to do that next.
Cindy, what's our next step?
So we've got our candle holder slash vase finished, and we're going to build this colorful tropical base for it. I purposely did not mount the glass to the base so that it can be used for a vase and washed, etc. later. So we're just going to lift that off and set it aside. And I just started with, it's a 6-inch and it's a foam disc. It's like a smooth surface, and I wanted to add some color to it. And to do that, I also discovered that DecoArt has this pearlizing medium. It's one of their Americana line products, and if you add this in equal parts, follow the directions, to any acrylic paint, it gives you a pearl paint.
And you can actually really see
it has
that.
A very soft sheen to it. It just takes that flat quality away from it. Even a satin paint like this, it gives it that little subtle. So you just mix an equal part
What
this.
colors? That is
this is the Pumpkin Patch, the Americana multi-surface satin paint.
And it doesn't look Halloweeny at all.
No, it does. Even though it says pumpkin, it's still kind of a tropical orange. And I think that pearlized effect is what makes some of the difference. And I did use a wide brush to do that because I didn't get any brush marks and such. So after that had dried on the disc, I wanted to add a little bit more of a color tropical touch. So I used a stencil, one of their patio paint home and garden stencils. And again, I've said this before, but I'm stencil challenged. I cannot stencil.
But you can with these because they're like stickers.
You can, but I still can't stencil. I'm incapable of doing it. I cannot stencil. So I use them as a template, and I will put it on the surface I want, and then I take a fine paintbrush, and I used this Inchworm. I loved the color.
It's a great color.
Again, the multi-surface acrylic, and I just painted in, following my stencil as a guide, and I did 3 of those around it, and you could space them however you wanted. And I let that dry.
For you non-challenged
for you people like me who are incapable of stenciling, it still gives you a template, but I can't do it. I just can't. So these great little letters that we use to spell out paradise on here, I think they kind of give you that wooden tiki.
Yeah, it kind of feels bamboo-ish.
Bamboo-y, yeah. I love, we keep doing the little shimmy. These are Low Cornell's Woodsies. They're their new crossword tiles.
Yeah, they're
really fun. You can paint these, you can do all sorts of fun things with them, but I wanted to use them natural for that bamboo-y feel. And I just mounted those along the front, and I used 3-in-1 to do that from Beacon. And next step is I'm going to show you how I made these dimensional hibiscus for the sides of our base. So the next step is to make our hibiscus, and our hibiscus are actually made of Macon's clay. It's a no-bake clay, and it's very flexible and lightweight, so you can do things like die cut it when it's dried and rolled very thin. And I just rolled some of the red clay using the Ultimate Clay machine, and I rolled it to the thinnest setting on it, which is a 9. Wow. And you can see it's almost like paper.
I was going to say, that looks just like paper.
It is, but it's still flexible and it's still lightweight. And when it's like this, you can die cut it, which is one of the things I love. Now I'm going to move this out of the way. And I used my Sizzix Big Shot and this great Brenda Walton die. It's a camellia flower, but I'm making it into a hibiscus.
You certainly are.
I cut 2 of the larger flowers. And then I'm not following the directions that come with it. I'm winging it here. And on the second one, I'm cutting out 1 petal with the whole piece.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because hibiscus have 5 petals. And then, in order to make it a little easier to work with while you're forming the flower, I used my Beacon Tacky Glue. I glued it off to the side,
but right
over the hole.
Okay, gotcha.
Over the hole, but so that the petal is off to the side like that.
Okay.
And I wanted to give them a little sheen and luster, because you know how I am. I'm not a real bling girl, but I like that little bit of luster. So I love these, the frosty effect. I love these metallic lusters from DecoArt, and they have new colors, which I'm really having a fun with. This radiant red.
Wow.
It's a cream, and I just use my fingertip, and
you and Judy and your fingers.
Our fingers, that's right. And I just covered all of the flowers with some of that, so you don't lose the color beneath, but you still have that sheen.
And how long did you think that took you to dry?
It's dry pretty much immediately.
Fast. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much immediately dry. And then I rolled some green clay, and again on a number 9 on the Ultimate Clay machine, and I die cut that with this tropical leaf die, and I think I made like four,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like.
You know, out of the assorted sizes. It's really up to you. And again, they're fun the way they are, and you can kind of manipulate them a little bit, but I wanted to add a little bit of that sheen to these. They have lavish green now, too.
Of course they do.
Yippee! So, and this has kind of a golden feel, but it still has that green tint. And the same thing, I used my finger, and I covered those leaves with a very subtle touch of that lavish green.
Oh, it's pretty.
It's just a touch of color.
Almost looks gold.
Yes, that's right. And now it's time to actually put together, to turn this into our dimensional hibiscus. So after a little bit of experimentation, I discovered that if you just take a piece of thin craft wire,
oh, okay.
and once these are dry, and when this tacky glue's dry, it holds this clay. It's not coming off. You'd think
love this tacky glue.
You'd think it might pop when you start doing what I'm doing, but it doesn't. I started by bending over one of my petals, and then I kept overlapping them.
Okay.
And I'm basically just, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you're getting to the point where you have...
It almost looks like a little rose.
It does, kind of, yeah. At this point, it sort of looks like a rosebud, or one of those cherry tomatoes sliced to look like a rose. So you've got that bottom flat base, and then I took my wire.
Oh, okay.
And I put it around, and if you have another set of hands to help you, someone can hold it, or you can use your teeth like I did.
No, we're not going to use our teeth.
I held it with my, and I used the wire, and I...
I take it you want me to twist that there? We
Yeah.
got it? Okay.
Yeah. And then I trimmed it off, and then I just very carefully opened my petals.
Amazing. It looks just like the hibiscus.
Now I did pull it good and tight, a little tighter than we did. You can see I pulled them much tighter. There's one that's...
Yeah, here, let's bring it right here. There you go.
There. But it does give you that dimensional depth, and it turns that camellia into a hibiscus.
You're so smart.
But it has to have a stamen.
Of course, that's the whole thing of the hibiscus.
That's the fun thing about hibiscus, right? So to make our stamens for our hibiscus, because that's what makes them really truly unique, is that very prominent stamen, we're actually going to use the Makin's Professional Ultimate Clay Extruder. And the extruder comes in a set with lots of different little discs.
Oh, it sure does.
That you screw off and insert to extrude the shape you want. And I'm just using a round here, and we'll push this out of the way, and I'm using some yellow clay.
Okay.
And I've already filled it, and then I just...
This is so fun. Oh my God. Look how smooth it is.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
So you just extrude out a stick of the clay, a big spaghetti of the clay.
Boy, this beats rolling.
It does have to, and trying to get it the same and all of that. And then I went to about 1.5 inches.
Okay.
Again, they're probably not all exactly the same. And I just pinched it off, and I wanted to give it a little point at the end.
Okay.
So I kind of did, I pointed it like that. And then I did want to give it that little indentation that they sort of have at the end of there. And I actually used Judy's stamp this to really show me what the stamen is supposed to look like.
Knowing too much about this flower.
But I looked at the stamp, and the stamp shows you like kind of what they're supposed to look like. So it's just a little thinner, and then it has that end. But those little dots that are like the little, I don't know whether they're seeds or what they are, I just hand rolled.
Little pollen balls.
Little pollen balls. And I made a different number on all of them, just a random number. Now, fresh clay will stick to fresh Makin's clay.
So you don't need to worry about it.
But with that said, because they're so small, and I wanted to make sure, I did go ahead and put a little bit of tacky glue.
And you put it right on the wet clay?
Right on the wet clay, and a very small amount. And I spread it on like this, and then I just picked up my little balls with my finger and pushed them on, and it stuck to the glue on my finger. And there's my red metallic luster showing. But I just randomly placed them around and allowed it to dry. And
that's
that way,
a great tip.
I know that they're going to stay on there really well. And to insert them into those holes, once we've got these wired, you still have the hole in the center. So I filled the hole with tacky glue. And then I actually inserted while it was wet.
Oh, you squished it down.
And I pushed it right into that hole that was there. And it dries in place. and I kind of propped it up against something just to keep it, but it gives you those great dimensional stamens to go on our hibiscus flowers.
And you added your little leaves underneath?
I just tucked in the leaves and kind of randomly arranged them how I wanted. I again used my tacky glue to mount them to the foam because it holds it good and strong. And I did, when I was mounting my leaves and flowers, I made sure that I left room for my vase slash candle holder.
Kind of hold them up a little bit.
And it gives it a more dimensional feel. But that way you've got the base if you want to use it, but if you just want to use it as a vase, you can. But it's a fun tropical home decor piece to add a little fun in the sun to your days.
Aloha party. Cindy, this was great. Thanks. We sure hope you've enjoyed When Creativity Knocks All-Star Designer Summer Series. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and pin us on Pinterest.
And sign up on our website to receive our weekly newsletter and be eligible to receive one of our weekly prize packages full of products from all of our series sponsors.